We have been talking on this channel about linking important political events so that you get the big picture and so that you understand it much more deeply. Now on my show today, I would like to make a link between the very latest political developments that may not be very easy for somebody to make, especially somebody who ignores the spiritual. It may not be very easy to make. And I assure you, it is absolutely mind-blowing. Now very quickly, what is dominating our news right now are the shocking reasons why Ezra Chiloba, the Director General of the Communications Authority, was suspended, actually fired. In a nutshell, the reasons we've been given is that he was unethical. Okay? You know, I've bored you guys for years by emphasizing that it is important, we all have weaknesses, but it is important to always try your best to do things that will stand the test of time. One of the problems with ignoring this truth, word of wisdom about this life, and this is very scary, the first thing you do may not be a very big deal, but it usually builds up to other things. In other words, it forces other things into your life that you definitely did not want. So that at the end of the day, by starting off with one small thing you did that was not right, you end up with so many other even more terrible things. But I'll come back to that shortly. Kenyans are also very surprised and puzzled at the recent behavior of Trade CS Moses Kuria. Now, as Trade CS, Honorable Kuria is supposed to be very busy. But what have we been seeing him doing in recent times? Telling us that he's the acting president, visiting Luo Nyanza, etc., etc. Ni kama hana kazi. And then meanwhile, William Ruto introduces Aden Mohammed as a CS at a trade delegation in the United States of America. Is Moses Kuria out of a job, or what exactly is happening? And that's not all. In recent times, we have had something unprecedented happen in our country. Of course, there's nothing illegal about it, but it is definitely not the right thing to do. And I'm talking about that situation where we have the president, the deputy president, and the chief minister, whatever it's called, all out of the country at the same time, and for long periods of time. Now my problem with that is that these foreign trips are coming at a time when we have so many serious problems back home. The recent dramatic increase in fuel prices, if they were running away from it, they shouldn't. They should have stayed in the country, at least to hold our hands and to console us. And I'm serious, although I laughed. But the main issue here is that you have a country with so many nagging problems. And then what your leaders are doing is flying out of the country all the time. Foreign trips for long periods of time. Of course, the excuse they'll give you is that they're going to look for solutions to our problems here back home. But I'm afraid that one hardly flies as an excuse. But by far the most scary and dramatic development in our local politics is as follows. We have now reached a situation where UDA politicians, who just the other day would travel around the country and talk to Kenyans, whisper sweet nothings into the ears of long-suffering Kenyans, explaining to them how things will get better, how everything will be okay. That one has now ended. It is now no longer possible to speak to wananchi about the cost of living and tell them that they need to be patient. You don't believe me? What happened in Western Kenya recently with Senator Boni Khalwale when he tried to talk to his people? They shouted him down. What happened in Molo, a UDA stronghold, when a politician tried to explain why fuel prices are so high? He was shouted down. And I can give you a couple of other examples, but I believe I've made my point. Now, that is a very dangerous line we have crossed. When politicians can no longer speak to the people and the people listen to them, that is a deadly line to cross. And my appeal to the government is to wake up, smell the coffee, and take action before it is too late. Now, here's the link to all those developments. We need first of all to start asking ourselves, what was the foundation of this government that is ruling Kenya today? Can you guess what it was? There are some Kenyans who say that the election was stolen. Okay? Now, for now, let us treat that as a theory, unproven theory. Yeah, of course we know otherwise. But please humor me briefly. Yeah, I want to get a very important point across. Let us assume that is an unproven rumor. Yeah, let's just leave it at that for now. Now, when somebody steals, what are the consequences? And I'm talking about a situation where they have not been caught. What are the consequences of stealing? Now, in case you didn't know, stealing attracts a lot of negative energy. And this has a devastating impact on somebody's life. Yeah, let me just give you a quick example. If you do just a little research, you'll notice that people who are involved in stealing never do anything with their money. It is like they have holes in their pockets. Nothing they touch succeeds. They come up with a very good idea here, a very good idea there, but nothing seems to work for them. Now, of course, the reason for that is spiritual, and I know many on this channel do not like it when I go into the spiritual. And so for now, I'm trying my best to stay away from there. I'm sure you've also heard of the expression, there is no honor amongst thieves. And the logic here is rather obvious. If I stole from somebody else, what will stop me from stealing from my fellow gang member? What will stop me from stealing even from my own mother? Now, those who are spiritual will tell you that the spirit of stealing has a stronghold on lying and fear. What that means is that somebody who steals will always lie to you. And somebody who steals will always be paranoid, very fearful. Even if they're a big, strong, powerful person, they'll always be fearful. Okay? Now you know why. But I'm sure in our personal experiences, because I know we all have relatives, or at least people we know, who stole something. Now very quickly, let's tie all this information together. Assuming that the presidential election of August 2022 was not stolen, why is it that in Kenya today we have seen unprecedented lies coming in from government officials and even government agencies? Let me just give you a quick example of an agency which was caught lying to Kenyans, which I think you have forgotten. And this was one of the most respected agencies in the country, one that is supposed to uphold truth and integrity because of the very nature of what they do. I'm talking about the DCI. Do you remember earlier this year when the DCI posted photographs of protests outside Kenya and told Kenyans that they're looking for those individuals who were involved in the maandamano? Do you remember that? In fact, the DCI even apologized to Kenyans. Unprecedented. You know the problem in this life, when so many shocking things happen, people develop a kind of immunity, so that when news breaks, you fail to analyze and digest that news to get its real impact. In other words, people just shrug their shoulders and say, Hiyo ni kawaida siku hizi. But what happened at the DCI earlier this year in our country, in the long history of the nation called Kenya, was unprecedented. No doubt about that. For the sake of clarity, before I continue, let us get it very clear that it is not possible, for instance, for the head of a home, the father, to steal and it fails to adversely affect the family members of his family. It will not fail to affect his wife. It will not fail to affect his children. It will not fail to affect his grandchildren. Okay, that's a very important point, so that we all understand where I'm going with this one. And so let me repeat the question. If the elections of August 2022 were not stolen, why is it that we have unprecedented lying and theft in our country and unethical behavior, which is really stealing? Yeah, there's no other name you can call it. Let's call a spade a spade. When you do something unethical, like you get a mortgage without following the laid down procedure to protect the organization, to protect the people of Kenya, actually you're a thief. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And by the way, stealing is not limited to money. When you murder somebody, you've stolen their destiny, their purpose, everything they were supposed to achieve during their lifetimes, which you have cut short. Which brings me to the next question. If it is true that the elections were not stolen, why have we had so many murders, political and otherwise? For instance, there was the case of the hairdresser in Kitengela the other day, which I covered on this channel. Why have we had so much murder and killings in our country? I'm afraid all those are signs which point very clearly to what we started with, the theft of an election. And now with that information, we can not only analyze very accurately what is unfolding in our country, but even we can predict what is going to happen next with pinpoint accuracy. Okay, so let's go for it. We should be able to now know exactly how the UDA party is going to collapse. And I mean precisely how. And this is what is going to happen. There's going to be a lot of infighting. There's going to be a lot of betrayal, people exposing each other, etc., etc., until the whole thing comes crashing down. But I need to quickly add, if we are wrong, if indeed UDA did not steal the election last August, then nothing like that will happen. But if it is true they stole the elections, I can assure you that is precisely exactly what is going to happen. And that is assuming that the people do not rise up against the government before that happens. Because Kenyans have been pushed to a corner. Everybody is saying revolt and revolution is bound to happen next. There is something else we should take careful note of. If we were to be very truthful, try and put our emotions aside of an election stolen, etc., etc. If we were to be very truthful, the truth is, William Ruto and the UDA government have come up with a few ideas that were brilliant, very good ideas. The immediate example that comes to mind was the idea to get fuel on credit and take away pressure from the Kenya shilling. What was supposed to happen in that instance is that the Kenya shilling would have strengthened significantly, so that by the time the debt was due, as a country would have ended up paying less than what would have paid at the time the fuel, the petrol, was delivered to Kenya. That is the truth. However, this particular plan went terribly wrong. And the truth is, if you have the time to speak to experts, there is no logical, clear reason why it did not work. Spiritually, the reason is very simple. When you're involved in theft, the result is a lot of negative energy. And negative energy causes lack of abundance. Negative energy causes everything you touch to fail to work. Everything you touch goes horribly wrong. I'm afraid you cannot change those rules of life. That is just the way this life is. Whether you ignore the spiritual or not, you cannot change that fact. Theft leads to negative energy, lack of abundance, and finally, that family of the thief will end up in poverty. And it is not me who made the rules. No, those are just the rules of this life. So bottom line, whatever solutions this government comes up with, nothing is going to work. And the Kenyan economy will continue going down, down, down. And there is nothing you and I can do about it. In other words, wherever you are, whatever your circumstances are right now, you need to prepare yourselves. The truth is, this will not end quickly. It will not end soon. That is very bad news. But it is the truth. Even I hate actually saying it to you. But it is the truth. And so the only way out for you and I is positive energy by doing what is right. Always doing something that will stand the test of time. That is the only way one will be able to survive the very, very dark days ahead. And that is why I will not stop recommending my sets of videos. How to survive a dead economy. How to survive and even prosper in a very dead economy like what we're facing. And of course things are going to get worse. You can see details on your screens right now, only $39. I have said it before and I'll say it again. The best $39 investment you'll ever make. It comes with 3 ebooks that will help you focus after you've taken in the videos. Over 1 hour long, but very detailed with a lot of information. Broken down in very simple language so that anybody can understand. I believe from the bottom of my heart, it will make a huge difference for anybody. Now in summary to what we have discussed today, it should now be very clear why what is happening in Kenya is happening. There is a reason. You have to trace it back to the foundation, of where it all started. And once you know what the foundation is, you know what to look for. And of course, that is exactly what you're witnessing. The news we're reading every day, the news that is breaking every other hour, that's what it's all about. Okay? And so it should be crystal clear, very easy for us to see precisely where we're headed. Not a good place, but that's the way things are. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.